What's happening, guys? We are back with our Force Affinity nukers. We are on number 3, believe it or not, and that is King Garog. My Garog is a +2. He's coming out, and there's been a big jump here between 4 and 5 and 3. So we are into the optimizer giving us over 100,000 max damage from the optimizer. So let's see how that translates across all of our tests. Of course, we don't have a naked King Garog going into battle. However, it often feels like he is naked when he goes in anyway, because he's notoriously not been that great. So can we change that now? Let's see. Let's click equip in game. We have everybody all boosted up here. All boosted up here. No, we don't. We have all the equipment from previous guys, giving us our 6-piece and 2-piece, as we have seen nearly for everybody. So it's getting us up to that 35 ignore damage percentage, and we have attack and more ignore defense from the cruelty then, and then just a random piece. For him, blessing wise, we have heaven cast on him. We can't really change it to any. There's not really anything that makes a ton of sense for him anyway. So let's go. Oh, we didn't look at his stats, did we? So we have nearly 7,000 attack. We have 200 speed, which is our base that we put in for everything. Sorry, I'm looking at the screen there and wondering, was it correct? We have 110 crit rate, 284 crit damage, and res and accuracy don't really matter, nor does anything else, because this is all about damage output. So onwards now to Dragon Normal 20. And we'll run through our battery of tests and see how we get on. So far, guys, I haven't been supremely impressed with our Force Affinity attackers. They've been grand for the most part, but nothing that like I'm going to be coming away from this going, oh my god, I must build X. So the big damage one is from his A2. We'll try his A3 first and see how we get on here. 236, or was that 263? I think we seen against Horden. So let's run that again, and we'll try his A2. Now his A2, we're probably not going to get a good damage number from his A2, and that's because it is a multi-hitter. I think it's a 4-hit skill, and it'll probably kill this guy before it gets all the hits in. So let's have a look here. 76, 81, 73. Yeah, okay, so it is good, and you can imagine one more of those, it would have been even better, but I think the A3 was still better there. Anyway, and let's just check the A1 to see if there's any point in checking the A1 on any of the other ones. I don't think there is. I think it's significantly lower. I'm going to actually run the optimizer again so as I can see what the outputs for the skills were. One enemy 2 times, 98 and 80. So it's not bad, but it's not what we need. So it's definitely the A3 that was the biggest hit for this level. But the biggest possible damage is going to be from the A2. So we are into Dragon Hard 10 now, and our target here is going to be Laberga, but we will try the AoE first. 253 we seen on Shigor and Laberga, so nothing wrong with that. And now we'll try the A2, and I think we'll be able to get our money's worth out of that now. And that's because she'll be able to stay alive for him long enough for him to land all the hits. So he can potentially get more damage in here. 75, 65, 70, and 50, I think was the last one. $265.83. And I think that's our number for that. So we go to arena, wherever arena may be, and we haven't we've managed to stay up so far. We haven't dropped too far down the rankings. So we'll try him in here, see what damage numbers he gets. Michinaki will probably survive here again, and that's, I'm pretty sure, Freya's passive kicking in and keeping him alive. So we'll go with the AoE. That's going to give us the most damage output. Which I'm guessing is going to be similar. Okay, 192755. Is that what the others have been getting? Yeah. So it's a bit of a nothing test, really. But we've done it for the others, so we'll continue to do so. Now, we go to Shogun next, and Shogun is my fave. The bad news is I have a big feeling that he's going to underperform here, and that's because I know how Shogun works. So because Shogun and a lot of the hard bosses and Amius, when I say hard bosses, I mean the dungeons, normal versus hard, so hard level whatever, they have damage reduction based on your blessing. So you get a 50% damage increase if you have up to a 6-star blessing, but with only a 1-star blessing, King Garog will only be getting a 5% damage increase. So let's go with the A2 and see how he does with hacked a bit. 74, 68, 75, 56. $274, 416. I can't really see him beating that, to be honest, but we will run it one more time. I don't think there's any point in running his A2 or his A3. I think his A2 is definitely more applicable here. And there's no... Actually, let's check where the ignore defense is on those skills. If there is way more on Goremaker is his A3. So it will ignore 20% of each target's defense. Will ignore further 5% for each buff on this champion. Okay. Each hit will ignore 20% of the target's defense. Each critical hit has a 50% chance to decrease the cooldown of Goremaker. So 20% ignore versus 20% ignore versus 35% ignore, coupled with 40% ignore that he has on him. So that's not important then. So okay, let's see. We may be able to 235 126. No, didn't cut the mustard, unfortunately. Yeah, so Garog, he's decent, but he's not. He, even after his buff brought him up to be usable, is what I think. Whereas before he was not. So he's still definitely not going to compete well. I don't need to set anything actually in his skills. and we'll just go with auto. So, as always, 10 turns on the boss count. I'm pointing here, you can't see that, pointing at my screen, but 10 turns on the boss count. When he hits his final hit after the turn counter goes to 10, that's when we call it a day, and we look at the total damage then, and we'll see what we get. Now, can King Garog play? Is he able to keep up with some of the others that we've had on here? And I don't think so. Actually, Heavencast as well is good for him, so because of all the buffs he's going to have on here, that's going to help him out big time. Well, I don't know about big time. It is only a 1-star blessing, but we use what we have, guys. So it's, I suppose that my takeaway from all of this is, like, it is so important to understand that just because the optimizer is giving you out one number doesn't mean that that number is going to translate to the real world and what's happening in game. Why is Garog running through all his buffs? That hasn't happened for anybody else, I don't think. He doesn't have an extra turn mechanic. Okay. Weird. Should I pull gear off somebody else, I wonder? Somebody else on the clan boss team. So we're coming up on turn 8. We'll break 5 million by turn 10, but we'll see. I've been wrong before on this. And you know what? I can't remember who my top 2. King Garog is number 3. I remember who number 1 is, actually. And he was one of my very, I said he, so you know it was a he. A very early champion for me. 5571951. Okay. So we need our numbers from Dragon 20, and I'll be right back with those guys, and we'll see how we get on. Okay, so we are back. We have our sheet filled out. We have looked at Garog's build. We've looked at his model. I do love those weapons. They're pretty fantastic. And let's see what his numbers look like. Okay, so he is our number 3 in from the optimizer's point of view. And does it stack up? So, Dragon 20. Let's bring him back in here. He actually becomes our second lowest apart from Brachus. So, okay, and Brachus underperformed as well according to expectations. Garog is then on Dragon Hard 10. He is our number 3 actually on Dragon Hard 10, so good man Garog. Neldor Rhymehide is still our number 1, surprisingly. Then in Arena, he's the same as a lot of them at 192775. Shogun, we have a big underperformance again, I think, if I'm not wrong, second only to Errol. I'm nearly certain, guys, that is... Rathalos has his ignore 100% of defense against bosses, and Neldor has a 6-star blessing. So I think the blessing is kind of what's dictating this order. I think he can do better than Xavia and Basilisk, maybe, if he had a better blessing. But he's second from the bottom on Shogun, as is, and like we said, it is only based on what my account is like now and what I have on each champion. So then with Clan Boss, how does he do? He comes in second from the bottom again. And I think that is where he should be. So the optimizer is giving us one point of view there. When rubber meets road, however, this is where he is going. And I think that's pretty much where he should be. He literally got buffed 3 or 4 weeks ago. I know I done a video on it, but yeah, that's where he is. If we look at the totals overall my testing, he comes out second from the bottom. So yeah, let me know what you think, guys. Is he still a Princess Garog, as Scratch likes to say, or did he become a king? I know what my opinion is. I thought, actually, do you know what? I tested him pre-buff and post-buff and thought to myself, wow, this is a big change and he's actually really good now. But he's only good relative to him, to what he was. He's not good relative to everybody else. Which is, I know they say you should only compete against yourself and just try to be better than yourself the day before. But this is a computer game, so self-improvement doesn't come into it, Garog. Unfortunately, he is not doing what we need to do. So he's pretty naff. So we're on to our top two, guys. Big jump in damage here from the optimizer's point of view for the next champion. And that I've actually forgotten. I know who number 1 is. I've forgotten who number 2 is. So I'm interested to see who this might be. Oh, yes, I did forget about this. So it is none other than Marinix. And I have it. You'll see beside Marinix, I have in brackets A1. Her A1 is actually her highest hitting attack, according to the optimizer. Now, I had a brain fart when I was talking about this before, but Oboro's A1 was coming up as the hardest hitting of her attacks in the optimizer as well, and it was a bug because she has 2 different types of attack. On the A1, it's conditional. It can either be a single target with a 4.2 multiplier or an AoE with a 2.6 multiplier. And what was happening was the optimizer was adding those 2 multipliers together to give her a 6.8 multiplier, which wasn't correct. Marinix I haven't investigated yet, so that will be interesting, guys. If you're interested in seeing that, come along to the next one and we will be looking at Marinix herself, who is a champion I've always enjoyed. Obviously we won't be going with this build, we'll have her fully built out. Yeah, I've always thought she was good and could do more, but she has a bad rep, and I'm hoping for more from her. It'll be interesting to see. Again, she has a low blessing. She has brimstone, so we'll have to change that, and we'll see how she does. So, guys, like and subscribe. I've been daithiraids. That has been disappointing Garog once again. So yeah, I'll see you in the next one, guys. Thanks for joining. Bye bye.